On my birthday, I set the table for four. One cupcake, one candle, three empty chairs. I wasn't asking for a party. I just wanted my daughter, my son-in-law, and my granddaughter to stop by long enough to remember I was still here. Then my daughter called. "Dad, I'm not driving across town for cake," she said. "You're too useless to visit." I sat there watching the candle melt into the frosting. A few minutes later, my phone lit up. Saguaro Springs Resort and Spa. $1,420. Family support card. The same card I had given her for emergencies, groceries, and temporary help. Then my granddaughter texted me. "Grandpa, Mom told everyone you wanted to be alone. That isn't true, is it? Welcome to Final Act Revenge. Tell me where you're watching from, and what time it is where you are. Please take care of your health while you listen," because my daughter thought I was too useless to visit. But by morning, my banker would show her exactly how useful I had been. My name is Raymond Sutton. I am 75 years old, and I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, in a quiet little house where the afternoon sun hits the kitchen floor like it is trying to warm up the parts of me that grief left cold. For most of my working life, I was a regional bank lending officer. That sounds dry, I know. Numbers, credit reports, loan files, late notices. But if you sit across from enough families with folders in their hands, you learn that money is almost never just money. It is fear. It is pride. It is shame wearing a clean shirt. I helped small business owners restructure debt after bad seasons. I watched couples argue over credit lines they both pretended not to understand. I explained to grown men that a missed payment was not a moral failure, then watched them cry in the parking lot anyway. I knew how money could save a family. I also knew how it could rot one from the inside. My wife, Elaine, understood that even better than I did. Elaine Sutton worked as a community college registrar for 28 years. Later, after she retired, she volunteered with adult education programs, helping people sign up for GED classes, bookkeeping courses, and night programs they were almost too embarrassed to ask about. She believed in second chances, but she did not believe in blank checks. Elaine used to say, "Help should lift a child up, not teach them to step on your hand." She said it gently. That was the trouble with Elaine. Even her warnings sounded kind, so people sometimes mistook them for suggestions. I didn't. At least, I thought I didn't. After Elaine passed, the house felt too large in the evenings. Our daughter, Natalie Cross, was struggling then. Her wellness consulting business was uneven. Her husband, Cameron, kept saying they had to maintain visibility in the right circles. Their daughter, Lily, was getting older, and school expenses were piling up. Natalie called often in those early months. Not every day, but enough. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she sounded ashamed. "Dad, I just need a bridge," she told me once, "just until things settle." A bridge. That word works on fathers. So I created the Sutton Family Support Account. It was not supposed to be luxury money. It was not supposed to be forever. It was for groceries, school costs, medical surprises, short-term business gaps, emergencies. The kind of help a parent gives because he still believes his family is walking toward stability. There was a family support card. There were limited transfers. A few auto-pays I approved because I thought they protected Lily more than anyone else. Elaine had seen this coming more clearly than I had. Before she died, she told Martha Keene, our banker and an old colleague of mine, to keep notes in the Pulci. "Ray is generous when he is lonely," Elaine said. I told her that made me sound foolish. She squeezed my hand and smiled. "No, sweetheart. It makes you married to me for too long. You learn to believe people can be helped into becoming better." Then she grew serious. "Promise me the account never becomes a leash around your neck." I promised. And then I spent years breaking that promise slowly, not all at once. That is how these things happen. One payment becomes three. One emergency becomes a habit. One thank you becomes silence. Natalie started using words I did not always know how to argue with. "Dad, I need boundaries." Dad, your loneliness is not my responsibility. Dad, I'm protecting my peace. Some of that may have been true. I am old enough to admit I probably did call too often after Elaine died. But boundaries that only stop visits and never stop payments are not boundaries. They are arrangements. And somehow, without noticing the exact day it happened, I became easier for my daughter to access through a card than through a chair at my table. Elaine warned me that love without records can turn into a bill nobody admits they're sending. I thought I was helping my daughter stand up again. But I did not realize I was paying for the distance she kept from me. Natalie Cross knew how to make a life look peaceful. That was part of her work. She called herself a luxury wellness consultant, which meant she organized desert brunches, spa weekends, private retreats, and little events where wealthy people sat in white linen and talked about healing while drinking water with fruit floating in it. She was good at it. Too good, maybe. Her voice became softer when strangers were listening. Her smile became warmer in photographs. She could stand beside a cactus garden at sunset, place one hand over her heart, and say words like gratitude, balance, and intentional living until people believed she had found something the rest of us were still chasing. But with me, she was different. Not always cruel. That would be too simple. Cruelty that clean is easy to hate. Natalie's kind came wrapped in exhaustion. Dad, this isn't a good week. Dad, I can't hold your loneliness for you. Dad, please respect my energy. I tried to understand. After Elaine died, I knew I was not easy. I repeated stories. I called at odd times. I asked if she had eaten, if Lily was safe, if Cameron was treating her well, if she remembered where Elaine kept the good Christmas plates. Lonely old men can become repetitive, I know that. But there is a difference between needing space and treating the person helping you like a stain on your image. Cameron Cross made that difference worse. He sold luxury real estate referrals through golf clubs, charity mixers, and what he called relationship environments. I called them expensive rooms where people pretended not to be selling anything. Cameron believed image was investment. The SUV lease was investment. The Desert Crest Club dues were investment. The spa weekends were business development. The travel card was client outreach. Even Natalie's boutique clothing somehow became brand presentation. Once I heard him tell her in my kitchen, "Your father's money is just sitting there collecting dust. At least we're turning it into future value." I looked at him over my coffee. "My money is not mulch, Cameron." He laughed like I had made a joke. I had not. Natalie looked embarrassed then, but she did not correct him. She only said, "Dad, he means we're trying to build something." I wanted to ask what they were building that required my card, but not my company. I didn't. That was my mistake. Parents often confuse silence with patience. Sometimes it is only fear wearing a nicer coat. My granddaughter Lily saw more than Natalie realized. Lily was 17, quiet in the sharp way teenagers get when they live around adults who edit the truth. She volunteered at an animal shelter on weekends and still sent me pictures of old dogs with gray faces because she knew I liked creatures that had been overlooked. She loved her mother, but she did not trust her mother's captions. Natalie would post a photo with "Family is everything" written under it, then go 3 weeks without stopping by my house. Cameron would say, "Raymond likes his routines," as if I were a houseplant that watered itself. Lily asked once, "Mom, why don't we visit Grandpa more?" Natalie answered, "Because Grandpa needs quiet." That was the first lie. Not the biggest, but the first. The week of my birthday, I called a small restaurant near Old Town Scottsdale. Nothing fancy. Just a place Elaine liked because they served lemon chicken the way she claimed she would make it someday and never did. The manager, Tasha Bell, remembered us. When I asked for a table for 4, she said, "Mr. Sutton, the same corner Elaine liked?" I had to clear my throat before answering. "Yes, that one." I was foolish enough to feel happy. I imagined Natalie arriving a little late, Cameron checking his phone too much, Lily hugging me first, because she always did, and maybe for 1 hour the family would look almost like something Elaine would recognize. But Natalie called Tasha before the reservation, not me. Tasha told me later Natalie said I wasn't feeling up to visitors, that I wanted a quiet evening, that the family was respecting my space. Respecting my space. There are phrases people use when they want abandonment to sound considerate. At home, I had already set my own little table just in case they decided to come by after all. 4 places, 4 napkins, 1 cupcake from the grocery bakery because buying a whole cake for yourself feels like arguing with reality. Lily texted me that afternoon. "Are we still seeing you tonight, Grandpa?" I typed back, "I hope so, sweetheart." She did not answer for almost an hour. Then finally, "Mom says you want to be alone." I stared at that sentence longer than I should have, because part of me still wanted to protect Natalie. Maybe she misunderstood. Maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she planned to surprise me. Old fathers can build a whole church out of maybe. Then the phone rang. Natalie's name appeared, and when I answered, I could hear noise behind her. Not illness. Not emergency. Laughter. Glasses. Outdoor music. "Dad," she said, already impatient. "I'm not driving across town for cake." I looked at the empty chairs. "Natalie, I made a place for you." She sighed. "You don't need a visit every time you feel lonely." "It's my birthday." A pause. Then the sentence that stayed with me longer than any charge ever could. "You're too useless to visit." She said it quickly, like throwing something out a car window. Then she softened her voice, too late. "I mean, you don't really need anything." That was what she believed. Need had become the only reason to see me. Not love, not memory, not gratitude. Need. A few minutes after we hung up, the first charge alert came through. Saguaro Springs Resort and Spa, family support card, $1,420. While I was setting 4 places at my little kitchen table, my daughter had already told the world I was too tired to be loved in public. After Natalie hung up, I did not move for a while. The phone stayed in my hand. The candle kept burning. The frosting on that little cupcake softened around the bottom of the wax, and I remember thinking how strange it was that something so small could make a room feel so empty. I had heard sharper words in my life. Banking teaches you that. People say ugly things when loans collapse, when businesses fail, when pride is cornered. I had been called cold, useless, heartless, and worse across desks by men who were terrified of losing everything. But hearing my own daughter say it, that was different. Too useless to visit. Not too far, not too tired, not too busy. Useless. A word that turns a father into furniture. I looked at the 3 empty chairs. Natalie's chair, Cameron's chair, Lily's chair. Then I looked at the charge alert again. Saguaro Springs Resort and Spa, $1,420. Family support card. The same card I had told myself was for temporary help. Groceries, school needs, unexpected medical costs. A bridge. That was the word Natalie used when she needed me. A bridge. But bridges are supposed to be crossed, not lived on while the person who built it sits alone on the other side. A soft knock came at the front door. For one foolish second, I thought it might be Lily. It was Gloria Ames. She lived 2 houses down, 72 years old, retired hospice volunteer. The kind of woman who could see loneliness through closed curtains. She stood there holding a small container of soup. "I made too much," she said. That was a lie, a kind one. I let her in. She saw the table before I could explain it away. 4 places, 1 cupcake, 3 empty chairs. Her face did not change much, but her eyes did. People who have sat beside the dying know how to keep pity from becoming another injury. "Oh, Raymond," she said softly. I tried to smile. "Don't worry, 1 candle is plenty at my age." Gloria looked at the cupcake. "At our age, 1 candle is a safety decision, not a decoration." I laughed, just once. It almost hurt. She sat with me for a few minutes, not asking questions she already knew the answers to. That was one of Gloria's gifts. She understood that sometimes company means sitting near a wound without poking it. Then my phone buzzed again. Lily. Grandpa, Mom told everyone you wanted to be alone. That isn't true, is it? I read it twice, then a third time. Gloria saw my face and quietly stood to rinse a spoon in the sink, giving me privacy without leaving me alone. I typed back, slowly. No, sweetheart. I set the table for 4. The response came quickly. I knew it. Then, another message. A screenshot. Natalie, standing on a sunlit patio at Saguaro Springs Resort, wearing a cream blouse I had probably paid for without knowing it. A glass on the table. A spa wristband around her hand. Cameron in the background near a golf terrace, smiling like a man who had never once had to explain the difference between support and entitlement. The caption read, "Protecting my peace today." I stared at those words. Protecting my peace. From what? An old man with a cupcake? A father who wanted 20 minutes? A house where her mother's birthday cards were still kept in a drawer because throwing them away felt like losing Elaine twice? Lily called before I could respond. When I answered, she was crying. Grandpa, I asked if we were going to see you, she said. Mom said you didn't want visitors. I wanted you. I know. Her voice broke. I told her I could come by myself, but Cameron said not to feed your victim story. Victim story. That one came from Cameron. I could hear his polished fingerprints all over it. I closed my eyes. Lily, none of this is yours to carry. She let out a small, angry breath. Then why does everyone keep making me carry the truth? That silenced me. Because she was right. Children often become the storage room for the honesty adults refuse to keep in the house. I looked at Elaine's old birthday card on the table. She had written it to me years ago, before the shaking in her hands, before the hospital bracelets, before the house learned how quiet it could become. Ray, never let money speak louder than love. I had failed that line in more ways than one. Lily whispered, Grandpa, are you mad at Mom? I looked at the cupcake, at the empty chairs, at the spa charge still glowing on my phone. Yes, I said, but I still love her. That sounds hard. It is. There was a pause. Then she said, she didn't forget your birthday. She just didn't want to come. I appreciated that she did not try to soften it. Some truths hurt less when they stop wearing perfume. After we hung up, I sat very still. Gloria came back from the kitchen and placed the soup beside me. You don't have to eat it now, she said. Thank you. She nodded toward the phone. Bad news? Clear news. She understood the difference. After she left, the house settled into evening. The candle had burned low. The frosting had a little pool of wax in it now. I picked up the phone and opened the banking app again. Not because I wanted to punish anyone, but because, for the first time, I wanted to see what I had been refusing to see. Another pending charge appeared beneath the spa bill. Desert Crest Club, member dining hold. Then another. Boutique Wellness Supply. Recurring order, all under the support card. I sat back slowly. That was the first time I understood my daughter had not forgotten my birthday. She had rewritten it so she could spend my money without seeing my face. The next morning, I called Martha Keene. I had known Martha for almost 30 years. She was not the kind of banker who wasted words on comfort she could not document. That was what made her good. In banking, kindness without precision can become another kind of damage. She answered on the third ring. Raymond, she said, I wondered when you were going to call. That told me more than I wanted to know. You saw the charges? I saw enough to know this is no longer a birthday problem. I sat at my kitchen table, where the cupcake still sat on a small plate. I had not thrown it away yet. Maybe that sounds foolish, but sometimes old men leave painful things where they are because moving them feels like admitting what happened. Martha, I said, I need to understand what I have been paying for." There was a short silence. Then she said, "Come in." Her office was in a private banking suite near Camelback Road. Quiet carpet, frosted glass, cold water in little bottles nobody ever finished. Places like that are designed to make money feel clean. Noelle Harper was already there when I arrived. Young analyst, sharp eyes, polite face. A stack of printed summaries sat in front of her, clipped neatly, as if neat paper could make ugly facts easier to read. Martha motioned for me to sit. "Before we begin," she said, "I need to be clear. I cannot freeze your daughter's personal life. I cannot touch money she earns herself. But I can review every channel connected to your family support account." "I understand." "No," she said gently. "You understand banking. Today you have to understand family banking. Different disease." Noelle lowered her eyes, pretending not to hear the old friendship in that sentence. Martha opened the first folder. The birthday charge was not isolated. I knew that. Still, hearing it aloud made my stomach tighten. Noelle turned the summary toward me. Saguaro Springs Resort and Spa, $1,420. Desert Crest Club, monthly. Dues, $690. Luxury SUV lease support, $1,250. Boutique wellness supply order, $830. Business development dinner, $640. Travel card balance activity, $2,180. Monthly lifestyle bridge transfer, $7,800. The numbers sat there like strangers wearing my last name. I looked at the page for a long time. Martha did not rush me. That was one mercy bankers rarely give. Finally, I said, "I approved some of this. Yes, I didn't approve it to become this." "No," Noelle spoke carefully. "Several charges were labeled as business development or family support, but the merchants and patterns suggest luxury lifestyle maintenance." Yes, luxury lifestyle maintenance. Such a professional phrase. It sounded cleaner than what it meant. My daughter was using emergency help to buy distance, image, and comfort. I pointed to the spa charge. She told me she was too busy to visit. Martha's face did not move, but her eyes changed. I said, "She had time to use my card. She did not have time to see my face." Noelle looked down. Martha closed the folder halfway. "Raymond, do you want me to continue?" That was a kind question dressed as a procedural one. "Yes." She opened the second folder. "There are recurring charges tied to Cameron's networking activity. Club dining holds, guest fees, membership-related inquiries. Some are not direct charges yet, but they are connected to the support structure." I leaned back. "Cameron. His access is not primary," Martha said, "but he benefits from the channels. That sounds like him. Never holding the bucket, always drinking from it." Martha almost smiled. Almost. Then Noelle slid another paper forward. "This came in from Tasha Bell at the restaurant. She confirmed you reserved a table for 4. I did. She also confirmed Natalie called and canceled." I looked up. "What did she say?" Noelle glanced at Martha first. Martha nodded. Noelle read from the statement. "Ms. Cross stated that Mr. Sutton was not feeling up to visitors and preferred a quiet birthday at home." There it was again. Not just neglect. A rewrite. My daughter had taken the chair I set for her, removed herself from it, then told the world I asked for the empty space. Before I tell you what my banker found in those accounts, let me ask you something. If your child called you too useless to visit on your birthday, then used your money that same day for a luxury spa, would you call it a mistake, or would you finally freeze the help? Tell me honestly what you would have done, because sitting in that office, I still did not want to destroy my daughter. I wanted to find the line where love stopped being help and started becoming permission. Martha folded her hands. "Raymond, Elaine left notes in the file." I felt my throat tighten. "I know." "No," Martha said softly. You know she left them. You may not remember what she said." She reached into the bottom folder and pulled out an older page. Not a bank printout. A scanned, handwritten note. Elaine's handwriting. Still neat. Still steady. Still more alive than some voices I had heard that week. Martha placed it in front of me, but kept her fingers on the edge, as if giving me a second to breathe before she let it go. "She was kinder than both of us," Martha said, but she was not naive. I looked at the page, at the first line in Elaine's handwriting, and suddenly, that little cupcake at home felt less like the saddest thing on my table, and more like the last warning I had ignored. I did not read Elaine's note in Martha's office, not all of it. I saw the first line, and that was enough to make my hands feel unsteady. "Raymond, love is not the same as access." That was my wife, plain, gentle, impossible to ignore. Martha saw my face and slid the paper back into the folder. "Take the afternoon," she said. "Don't make decisions while you're bleeding." That was good advice. So naturally, I went home and did the hardest thing an old father can do. I called my daughter. Natalie did not answer. I waited 10 minutes and sent one message. "We need to talk about yesterday." Her reply came almost an hour later. "Dad, I'm sorry you felt hurt, but I told everyone you needed rest. Please don't make this into something ugly." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Not, "I'm sorry I hurt you." Not, "I'm sorry I used your card while leaving you alone." "I'm sorry you felt hurt." That is a clean little phrase people use when they want forgiveness without confession. I called again. This time she answered. Her voice was soft, controlled. The same voice she used with clients who paid to be told their exhaustion was sacred. "Dad, I have appointments today. I can't do emotional processing right now." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because sometimes modern language gives cruelty a nicer couch to sit on. "Natalie," I said, "did you tell Tasha Bell I was too tired for visitors?" A pause. Small, but not small enough. It was easier than explaining. "Explaining what?" "That you've been difficult lately." There it was. Difficult. A word children use when parents stop being convenient. I looked across the kitchen at the table where the cupcake still sat. The frosting had gone dry around the wax. The empty chairs were pushed in neatly now, as if neatness could undo humiliation. "I set a place for you," I said. She exhaled. "Dad, you can't keep measuring love by who sits at your table." "No," I said, "but I can measure disrespect by who uses my card while refusing the chair." Silence. Then Cameron's voice came through the background. "Raymond, nobody is trying to hurt you. Natalie is managing a lot. You have to understand optics." Optics. That word landed colder than I expected. Not love, not family, not truth. Optics. I said, "Cameron, I'm not a campaign problem." He gave a little laugh. "Come on, that's not what I meant." "It is exactly what you meant. You just didn't expect me to hear it clearly." Natalie cut in quickly. "Dad, please. Cameron is trying to help." "Help who?" No answer. That was becoming a pattern. After we hung up, Lily called. She was in her car, parked somewhere quiet. I could hear the shaky breath she was trying to control. "Grandpa," she said, "Mom is really mad." "I figured." "She says you're punishing the family." "No, sweetheart. I'm asking questions." "She says if the account gets reviewed, my senior year could get messed up." There it was, the shield. My granddaughter's name placed between adults and accountability. I closed my eyes. "Lily, listen to me. Your school needs college applications, books, insurance, anything real. Those come to me directly from now on, not through your mother, not through Cameron." She went quiet, then whispered, "Really? Really? I don't want to be the reason everybody fights." "You are not the reason," I said. You are the reason I'm going to do this carefully." She sniffed. Then her voice changed, smaller now. "Cameron told Mom not to feed your victim story." Victim story. A birthday table with empty chairs had become a victim story. A father asking why his card bought spa services instead of a visit had become emotional manipulation. I rubbed my thumb over the edge of Elaine's old birthday card. "What else did he say?" Lily hesitated. "Grandpa, it's all right. He said if you question the charges, Mom should remind you the account was for family support. He said, 'We are family.'" I looked toward the window. The Arizona sun was bright enough to make everything outside look clean. Inside, the air felt dusty. "Yes," I said, "you are family. That is why this hurts." After Lily hung up, Gloria Ames came by to return the soup bowl. She stood at my kitchen door and saw the cupcake in the trash, the candle still stuck in the frosting like a tiny white bone. She did not mention it at first. That was Gloria's kindness. She washed the bowl at my sink and said, "You know, Raymond, I spent years with people at the end of life. The worst loneliness is not being alone." I looked at her. She dried her hands slowly. "It's when someone else tells the world you chose it." That sentence opened something in me, because that was exactly what Natalie had done. She had not merely skipped my birthday. She had made my loneliness sound like my preference. My phone buzzed while Gloria was still there. Noelle Harper. She had sent a preliminary review summary, lifestyle-related, not hardship. Recurring support categories inconsistent with stated purpose. Cameron-linked club activity noted. Birthday charge occurred during documented no-visit claim. I read it twice. Gloria watched my face. "Clear news again?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Clear doesn't always feel better." "No, but it stops you from arguing with fog." She gave one small nod, like that answer satisfied her. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table and finally opened Elaine's old birthday card. It was from 6 years earlier, the year before she got sick. On the front was a little desert sunset, the kind tourists buy and locals pretend not to like. Inside, she had written, "Ray, never pay someone to disappear from you." I read that line once, then again, then a third time. My wife had always been better than me at spotting the moment love started turning into surrender. I set the card beside the phone. Outside, the neighborhood sprinklers clicked on. Inside, the house stayed still. Then Martha texted, "Do not confront them again tonight. Tomorrow, we review Elaine's clause." I looked at the dry cupcake in the trash, the support card alerts on my phone, the 3 chairs I had pushed back under the table, and Elaine's handwriting waiting in front of me. That was when I understood she had seen the danger long before I was ready to name it. The next morning, I drove to Martha Keene's office before the Arizona heat settled fully over the city. Scottsdale mornings can trick you. Everything looks calm. Palm trees barely moving, clean sidewalks, golf sprinklers hissing quietly behind gated walls. You can drive through neighborhoods full of perfect stone houses and think people inside them must love each other correctly. Then you sit in a banker's office and discover half those houses are being held together with silence, credit, and fear. Martha already had coffee waiting when I arrived. Black, no sugar. 30 years of friendship teaches people small things like that. Noelle Harper sat at the end of the conference table with 2 folders and a tablet open beside her. She looked more serious than the day before. That worried me. Young analysts only get quiet like that when the numbers stop looking accidental. Martha closed the office door. Then she looked directly at me. "Raymond, before we go further, I need to ask you something plainly." "All right. Are you trying to punish your daughter?" The question landed hard because I had already asked it to myself all night. I thought about Natalie at 12 years old, sitting on the kitchen counter while Elaine made pancakes. I thought about Natalie at 22, crying after her first breakup. I thought about Natalie holding Lily in the hospital, exhausted and frightened and beautiful in the way only new mothers can be. Then I thought about the empty chairs, the spa charges, the sentence she threw at me like trash from a moving car, too useless to visit. I looked back at Martha. "No," I said quietly. "I'm trying to stop funding disrespect." Martha nodded once. "Good, because those are not the same thing." She opened the old folder. On top sat Elaine's handwritten notes. Noelle slid a typed summary beside it. Martha spoke carefully, almost like she was reading aloud in church. The Sutton Family Support Account was established as discretionary family assistance. Intended uses include temporary hardship support, educational expenses, emergency groceries, medical costs, and limited business stabilization assistance. I listened without moving. Those were the reasons I had agreed to the account in the first place. Not luxury, not image, not spa terraces and club dining. Martha continued. There is also an attached review condition drafted jointly by Elaine Sutton and reviewed by Legal Banking Compliance. Noelle handed me the printed clause. The paper felt heavier than it should have. Martha read it aloud. If family support is used to sustain luxury lifestyle, while the surviving parent is isolated, misrepresented, humiliated, or financially pressured, discretionary support may be suspended pending review. The room went quiet. Not dramatic quiet, real quiet, the kind where people stop pretending language is harmless. I looked at Elaine's signature near the bottom of the page. Steady handwriting, sharp loops in the letters. She had written this before she got sick enough for her hands to shake. "She knew," I whispered. Martha folded her hands. She suspected. She suspected Natalie would do this? "No," Martha said softly. "I think Elaine suspected loneliness would make you ignore lines you normally respected." That hurt because it was true. I had not become blind from weakness. I had become blind from wanting my family to stay close. Noelle opened another summary. "Raymond, we categorized the current support-related activity into 4 areas." She turned the page toward me. Essential support, educational support, emergency support, lifestyle maintenance. The last category was almost entirely Natalie and a Cameron. Spa charges, luxury wellness purchases, Desert Crest Club dues, travel upgrades, business dinners with no attached business receipts, vehicle support tied to image-related networking, monthly transfers, recurring withdrawals. I pointed at the monthly number. 7,800? Noelle nodded. That is the current Lifestyle Bridge distribution average. I leaned back slowly. There are moments when betrayal does not arrive as pain first. Sometimes it arrives as arithmetic. Martha said gently, "Raymond, your daughter does not appear to see this money as temporary anymore." No, she saw it as weather, something that existed around her naturally. I stared at the support summaries. How much of this actually protects Lily? Noelle answered immediately. Very little directly. That sentence changed something inside me, because I could survive disrespect toward myself longer than I could survive the idea that Lily had become the excuse adults used to justify comfort. Martha slid another page over. This section matters. It showed linked channels attached to the family support structure. Family support card, lifestyle bridge transfers, luxury category approvals, travel support, club, dues, vehicle assistance, business development, category access. All discretionary, all reviewable, all funded through me. I looked up. So, what exactly can be stopped? Martha answered carefully, like a surgeon explaining risk. I cannot freeze Natalie's personal bank accounts. I cannot touch her income, her independent assets, or her legal property. I know. But I can suspend any lifestyle support funded through this structure pending review. Noelle added quietly. That includes the support card, club-related payments, luxury categories, discretionary transfers, and Cameron linked coordination access. And Cameron linked coordination access. Even hearing the phrase irritated me. That man always found a way to stand near money without technically touching it. I rubbed my forehead. This sounds ugly. Martha gave me a long look. No, Raymond. Humiliation is ugly. Boundaries are paperwork. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Then Martha said the sentence that finally made everything feel real. I cannot freeze your daughter's life, but I can freeze the lifestyle she has been charging to yours. The room stayed silent after that. Outside the office window, I could see bright Arizona sunlight reflecting off parked cars. Inside, I felt like I was finally seeing my own family, without shadows softening the edges. I signed the authorization for formal review. My hand shook slightly, not from fear, from grief. Because fathers imagine signatures differently when they are helping their children. You picture tuition forms, first apartments, wedding checks, not paperwork designed to stop your daughter from using your loneliness like a credit line. Martha took the signed documents and closed the folder. We'll issue a formal support review notice tomorrow morning. To Natalie and Cameron. I almost asked why Cameron mattered. Then I remembered the spa terrace, the club charges, the word optics, the victim story. No, he mattered plenty. Before I stood to leave, I looked once more at Elaine's clause. Isolated, misrepresented, humiliated, financially pressured. My wife had not written that document because she stopped loving our daughter. She wrote it because love without limits eventually stops protecting everyone involved. As I reached the office door, Noelle spoke for the first time in several minutes. Mr. Sutton? Yes? She hesitated, then said quietly, Your granddaughter called this morning. My chest tightened. What happened? She wanted to make sure none of this would hurt her college applications. I closed my eyes. Of course, Natalie and Cameron had already made Lily afraid. I asked, What did you tell her? Noelle's voice softened. I told her adults should never make children carry the weight of their financial choices. I nodded once. Then Martha handed me a sealed envelope. Formal review notice, addressed to Natalie Cross. By the time my daughter opened that envelope, the life she had been building with my money was already beginning to shake. That night, I sat alone in my kitchen again. The house had become too quiet after Elaine died, but this silence felt different. Not grief, not absence, exposure. Like someone had finally pulled the sheet off a piece of furniture and shown me what had been underneath the dust all along. The cupcake was still in the trash. I should have thrown the whole bag out days earlier, but the white frosting had hardened around the candle wax in a way I could not stop looking at. One crooked little candle stuck in dried frosting, like proof that humiliation can survive longer than celebration. I poured myself coffee I did not want. Then I sat at the table with Elaine's birthday card beside me. Never pay someone to disappear from you. I kept reading that line like it might change if I stared long enough. It didn't. My phone buzzed close to midnight. Natalie, not a call, a text. Dad, I just got some kind of review notice from Martha. What is this? No apology, no mention of my birthday, no acknowledgement of the empty chairs. Just fear. I stared at the message while the refrigerator hummed quietly behind me. Then another text arrived. Cameron says this could damage our reputation if people find out. There it was again. Reputation, image, optics. Funny thing about people obsessed with appearances. Eventually, they begin treating dignity like branding instead of behavior. I typed slowly. You told people I wanted to be alone. 3 dots appeared instantly, then disappeared, then appeared again, finally. You were overwhelmed, Dad. I laughed softly to myself. Not because it was funny, because that sentence told me Natalie still believed she could rewrite reality if she softened the wording enough. I put the phone face down. A minute later, it rang. I answered. Natalie sounded angry now, but underneath it I heard panic trying to stay dressed up. "Dad, why are you doing this?" I looked around the kitchen. The empty chair across from me had once belonged to Elaine. For 38 years, she sat there correcting grocery lists, reading little newspaper articles aloud, or reaching over to steal fries off my plate while pretending she was helping my cholesterol. Now there was only the sound of my daughter asking why consequences had arrived before permission. "I'm reviewing support," I said calmly. "You're freezing us out over one birthday dinner?" "No, I'm reviewing why my support card pays for spa terraces, while my daughter tells people I'm too difficult to visit." Her breathing changed, shorter now. "That is not what happened." "It's exactly what happened." Cameron's voice entered suddenly from somewhere near her phone. "Raymond, this emotional framing isn't productive." I closed my eyes. Only Cameron could make abandonment sound like a scheduling conflict. "You used my family support card at a luxury spa on my birthday." "That was a business environment." "You mean cocktails near a heated pool?" "It's networking." "No," I said quietly. "It's expensive loneliness with valet parking." Silence. Then Natalie snapped. "You have no idea how hard it is keeping up appearances right now." That sentence landed harder than she realized, because for the first time, she said the quiet part out loud. Keeping up appearances, not surviving, not protecting Lily, not emergency hardship. Appearances. I rubbed my forehead slowly. "Natalie, do you know what I did on my birthday?" No answer. "I sat beside one cupcake and 3 empty chairs while you told people I wanted isolation." Her voice softened for half a second. "Dad, no, listen." My chest hurt saying it. Not physically, the other kind. The worst part wasn't being alone. It was realizing my daughter had learned to make abandonment sound compassionate. The line stayed quiet. Then Cameron spoke again. "We are trying to build a future." "With my money? That's unfair." "No," I said. "Unfair is a father funding a lifestyle he isn't welcome to witness." Natalie suddenly sounded tired. Not remorseful, tired. "Dad, you always make things emotional." That one almost broke me, because grief sounds emotional to people who only measure value in transactions. I looked toward the trash can again. The cupcake frosting had cracked now. The candle leaned sideways. Somehow that felt important. I said quietly, "You know what your mother used to say?" Natalie went silent. "She said help should lift a child up, not teach them to step on your hand." Another silence, longer this time. Then Natalie whispered something I did not expect. "She always liked you more than me." I sat back slowly. There it was, the wound underneath the performance. Not greed alone, not entitlement alone. Something older, something bruised. "Your mother adored you." "She judged me." "No," I said gently. "She worried about what happened when comfort became more important than closeness." I heard Cameron moving around in the background. Then his voice sharpened. "Raymond, if these reviews continue, it could affect our business relationships." Business relationships. There it was again. Not family, never family. Image. I finally asked the question sitting in my throat for days. "How much of your life depends on my support now?" Neither of them answered. That silence told me everything. A notification buzzed on my phone while Natalie was still breathing quietly on the line. New review request submitted. Expanded family coordination. Access inquiry. I frowned. Martha didn't mention this. Natalie inhaled sharply. Too sharply. "What inquiry?" I asked. No answer. Then Cameron said carefully, "It was just future planning." Future planning. The words chilled me immediately. "What kind of planning?" Natalie spoke too quickly. "It's nothing." But people only say nothing that fast when it is something dangerous. I opened the banking summary. Expanded access request, pending review. Requested increase. Monthly lifestyle bridge adjustment from $7,800 to $10,500. Additional coordination categories requested: travel, club hospitality, business representation, lifestyle continuity support, lifestyle continuity support. I stared at the screen while my stomach slowly turned cold. They had not just been using the support. They had been preparing to expand it, while telling the world I preferred to be alone, while teaching Lily to apologize for me, while turning my birthday into a scheduling inconvenience. "Dad," Natalie whispered carefully now, "please, don't overreact." Overreact. That word always appears when people fear the truth more than the damage that caused it. I looked at Elaine's old birthday card one more time, then at the dry cupcake in the trash, then at the request to increase the amount my loneliness funded every month. And in that moment, I realized something that hurt worse than the empty chairs ever had. My daughter had not only abandoned me on my birthday, she and Cameron had already been planning how to profit from the next year of my isolation. I did not sleep much after that call. At 75, sleep already becomes complicated. Your body wakes up for reasons your younger self would have mocked: bad knees, dry throat, old grief wandering through the hallway at 3 in the morning. But this was different. I stayed awake because every time I closed my eyes, I saw those 3 empty chairs beside the cupcake. And then I saw the banking request underneath them. Lifestyle continuity support. Such polite words. That is the danger of professional language. It launders ugly intentions until they sound responsible. The next morning, Martha asked me to come back in. Her message was short. We found additional documentation. That sentence sat in my stomach the entire drive over. Scottsdale traffic moved slowly under bright desert sun, and I remember thinking how strange it was that the world still looked normal while your understanding of your own family was changing shape. Martha and Noelle were already waiting when I arrived. No coffee this time. That told me enough. Noelle had another folder open, thicker than the earlier ones. She looked tired now, like she had spent the night reading things she wished she hadn't. Martha motioned toward the chair. "Raymond," she said carefully, "before we continue, I need you to understand something." I sat down slowly. The expanded access request was not drafted yesterday. That made my chest tighten. "What do you mean?" Noelle turned the screen toward me. Timestamp history, preliminary coordination discussions, category expansion inquiries, draft requests, dates, weeks before my birthday. Weeks. I stared at the screen without speaking. Martha said quietly, "This was being prepared before the dinner incident." Dinner incident. Another clean phrase trying to hold something ugly. Noelle clicked open another section. There it was. Projected monthly increase. From $7,800 to $10,500. Justification notes. Expanded client visibility. Luxury hospitality maintenance. Travel continuity. Desert Crest representation costs. Lifestyle stabilization. Lifestyle stabilization. I almost laughed. That was what my loneliness had become. A funding source for stability. My daughter and her husband had slowly transformed my grief into infrastructure. I rubbed my hand over my mouth. When were they planning to submit this? Noelle answered softly. Likely within the next 2 billing cycles. And the birthday? Martha and Noelle exchanged a glance. That frightened me more than the numbers. Finally, Martha said, "We believe the birthday narrative may have been part of a broader positioning pattern." Positioning? Yes. I leaned back slowly. "Say it plainly." Martha nodded. "The evidence suggests Natalie and Cameron were building documentation that you preferred isolation, avoided social obligations, and required reduced emotional demands." I stared at her. "That sounds clinical." "It is." Then Noelle added the part that made my stomach go cold. Several notes reference preserving emotional stability around you, so support structures could continue without disruption. Support structures. Not family, not visits, not care. Support structures. I looked at the screen again. There were communication drafts attached, not formal documents. Strategy notes. One line from Cameron sat highlighted. If Raymond keeps preferring quiet birthdays and limited visits, expanded coordination becomes easier to justify. I felt something inside me collapse, very quietly. Not anger first. Recognition. Because suddenly the empty chairs looked different. They were not an accident, not entirely. Distance had become useful to them. A lonely father is easier to manage than a present one. Martha spoke carefully. Raymond, I do not think they plan to hurt you emotionally in the way this unfolded. I looked at her. No? I think they convinced themselves your isolation was practical. Practical. That word nearly broke my heart more than useless had, because practical cruelty lasts longer. People build routines around it. I stood and walked toward the office window. Outside, people crossed the parking lot carrying coffee and gym bags and dry cleaning, lives moving normally while mine sat in banker folders behind me. I remembered Natalie at 8 years old, crying because a school friend excluded her from a birthday party. Elaine held her at the kitchen table for an hour. You never make people feel unwanted on purpose, Elaine told her. Natalie nodded so hard her little curls bounced. She meant it then. That is the terrible thing about family stories. Nobody starts as the villain. Life just keeps sanding pieces off people until comfort matters more than kindness. Behind me, Martha said gently, There's more. Of course there was. There always is once money and shame begin talking to each other. Noelle opened another file. Cameron made multiple inquiries tied to club visibility and hospitality expansion. Meaning? He was attempting to position himself in higher-tier networking environments. With my money. Yes. There it was again. Not emergency support. Social climbing, the SUV lease, the spa memberships, the club dining, the travel upgrades, all of it connected to a version of success my daughter and her husband wanted strangers to admire. And every month, I had been quietly funding it while eating alone in a quiet house filled with my dead wife's handwriting. I sat back down slowly. What about Lily? That was the question that mattered. Noelle's face softened immediately. Most of the educational support tied directly to Lily is minimal compared to the lifestyle categories. I closed my eyes. So, the child had become the excuse, not the priority. Martha slid another paper toward me. This came in from Desert Crest Club Management. I looked at the header. Warren Pike, Membership Relations Director. The note summarized Cameron's recent inquiries regarding upgraded hosting privileges and expanded guest entertainment flexibility. Projected increase in visibility expectations. Projected, future-focused. They were already budgeting for a larger life, a life they expected me to continue financing quietly while being too emotionally difficult to include. Then Martha said something that finally made me understand how dangerous this had become. Raymond, if this pattern continued another year, disentangling the support structure would have become much harder emotionally and financially. I looked out at her. You think they would have kept increasing it? Martha did not answer immediately. That was answer enough. I looked back down at Cameron's highlighted line on the report. If Raymond keeps preferring quiet birthdays. Quiet birthdays. That was how abandonment entered the records. Not as cruelty, as preference. My daughter had not simply skipped dinner. She had allowed a narrative to form where my loneliness justified their dependence. And the worst part? Part of her probably believed it, because people can adapt to comfort frighteningly fast when somebody else keeps paying for it. My phone buzzed suddenly. Natalie, I answered. She sounded panicked now, real panic. Dad, Martha won't answer my calls. I said nothing. Cameron says there are compliance flags on the support categories. Still nothing. Dad, what exactly are you telling them? I looked at the folders spread across the conference table. The spa charges, the club inquiries, the strategy notes, Elaine's clause. Then I thought about the cupcake hardening in my trash while my daughter drank cocktails beside a heated resort pool. Finally, I answered quietly, the truth. Silence. Then Natalie whispered something so softly I almost missed it. We thought you'd always want to help us. That sentence hurt because it was honest, not loving, not remorseful, honest. I closed my eyes. I did want to help you. Then why are you doing this? Because somewhere between Elaine's funeral and my 75th birthday, helping had quietly turned into financing the version of my life where I was easiest to ignore. But I didn't say that. Instead, I looked toward Martha, toward Noelle, toward the sealed review folders waiting to be finalized, and for the first time since this began, I realized something terrifying. My daughter still thought this was only about money. She still had no idea what was about to happen when the formal review meeting exposed everything she and Cameron had built on top of my silence. The formal review meeting took place 3 days after my birthday. 3 days. That was all it took for years of quiet support to turn into folders, compliance summaries, flagged categories, and legal language nobody in my family had ever expected to hear spoken aloud. Martha scheduled the meeting in one of the private conference rooms upstairs. Neutral walls, long polished table, cold bottled water lined neatly beside yellow legal pads. Rooms like that are built to remove emotion from financial decisions. The problem was, family always brings emotion in anyway. Natalie arrived first. Large sunglasses, cream blazer, perfect hair. The kind of appearance people wear when they still think composure can outrun consequences. Cameron walked beside her carrying confidence like it was a briefcase. But I noticed something immediately. Neither of them looked angry anymore. They looked scared. Lily came separately. She hugged me before sitting down. A quick hug, tight, almost apologetic. "You okay, Grandpa?" she whispered. "No," I said honestly. "But I will be." That seemed to comfort her more than pretending. Martha entered with Noelle Harper and 2 compliance officers from Private Banking Support Review. Not lawyers, worse, professionals, people who document reality without raising their voices. Martha sat across from Natalie and Cameron, then she folded her hands calmly. This meeting concerns the Sutton Family Support Account and Discretionary Support Review under the Elaine Sutton Dignity Clause. Hearing Elaine's name changed the room immediately. Natalie looked down. Cameron straightened in his chair like he was preparing for negotiation. That was his mistake. You can negotiate contracts. You cannot negotiate evidence once it starts breathing in front of witnesses. Martha began simply. The Sutton Family Support Account was created for temporary hardship relief, educational support, medical need, emergency stabilization, and limited family assistance. Noelle distributed summaries, neat stacks, clean pages, ugly truths. Natalie's hands shook slightly as she flipped through them. Spa charges, club dues, lifestyle bridge transfers, travel categories, business development expenses, luxury hospitality activity. Then came the screenshots. Saguaro Springs Resort and Spa, Desert Crest Club, travel upgrades, boutique wellness merchants. Cameron leaned forward immediately. These categories supported business visibility. One compliance officer answered before Martha could. Visibility is not hardship. Silence. Beautiful silence. The kind money creates when it finally stops protecting people. Martha continued. On Mr. Sutton's 75th birthday, while support charges were actively processed, Ms. Cross informed third parties that Mr. Sutton preferred isolation and did not wish to receive visitors. Tasha Bell's written statement appeared next. Natalie's face lost color. Lily looked down at the table. I watched my daughter read the sentence she had tried to turn into kindness. Mr. Sutton wished to spend his birthday quietly alone. Martha spoke carefully. Simultaneously, lifestyle expenditures continued through discretionary support channels. Then Noel placed another document forward. Expanded coordination request. Projected increase, $7,800 to $10,500 monthly. Additional lifestyle continuity categories requested. I watched Cameron realize the room already knew everything. That was the moment his confidence cracked. He cleared his throat. Raymond agreed to support growth opportunities. I finally spoke, not while being erased from the life I was funding. Cameron looked at me carefully now, not casually, not socially, carefully. Raymond, nobody erased you. I reached into my folder. Then I placed a photograph in the middle of the table. 4 chairs, 1 cupcake, 3 empty seats. The room went completely still. Even the compliance officers stopped writing for a second. I looked at Natalie. That was my birthday. Her eyes filled immediately. Not enough for tears. Enough for shame. I told people you wanted quiet because it was easier, I said softly. The exact phrase she once used with me. She looked down. Martha opened Elaine's clause again. Then she read the line aloud. If family support is used to sustain luxury lifestyle while the surviving parent is isolated, misrepresented, humiliated, or financially pressured, discretionary support may be suspended pending review. No dramatic music, no courtroom shouting, just paperwork. That is the terrifying thing about consequences at our age. They arrive quietly. Martha looked toward Natalie and Cameron. After review, the following discretionary support channels are suspended, effective immediately, pending long-term restructuring. Noel read them one by one. Family support card access. Natalie inhaled sharply. Luxury spa and wellness category support. Cameron leaned back slowly. Desert Crest Club dues assistance. Travel support categories. Lifestyle bridge transfers. Vehicle lease assistance tied to discretionary support. Business development reimbursement categories. Expanded coordination request denied. Then the final line. Cameron Cross removed from all financial communication authorization connected to the Sutton family support structure. That one hit him hardest. I could see it instantly. Not because of the money, because exclusion embarrassed him. He looked at me. You're humiliating us. That sentence almost made me laugh. Humiliating. As if humiliation only counts when wealthy people feel it in conference rooms instead of old men feeling it beside cupcakes. I answered quietly. No, I'm finally refusing to fund it. Natalie started crying then. Real crying. Not polished, not social. 47-year-old daughter crying in front of banking documents because the life she thought was stable had suddenly become conditional. Dad, she whispered, I never wanted you to feel unwanted. I believed her. That was the hardest part. People do not always intend cruelty when they drift into it. Sometimes they just keep choosing convenience until compassion starves quietly in the corner. I looked at her for a long time. Then I said the sentence I had carried in my chest since that birthday night. You called me too useless to visit, so I stopped being useful to your lifestyle. Nobody spoke after that. Even Cameron stayed quiet. Martha finally turned toward Lily. Educational support for Lily Cross will continue directly through protected channels unrelated to discretionary lifestyle review. Lily looked like she might cry from relief. Good. At least one person left that room lighter. Natalie wiped her eyes. What happens now? Martha answered calmly. Now your father decides what support looks like when dignity becomes part of the calculation. That sentence stayed in the room long after the meeting ended, because for the first time, my daughter understood something she had not seen clearly before. The money was never the true power. The true power was the moment an old man finally stopped apologizing for wanting a chair filled at his own table. 3 months after the review meeting, the house felt different, not happier. Healing is quieter than happiness. The silence inside my kitchen no longer felt like punishment. It felt honest. And at my age, honesty becomes more comforting than performance. The cupcake was gone. The chair across from me was still empty most evenings, but empty is easier to survive when nobody is charging luxury spa treatments while calling it compassion. Natalie called more often after the freeze. At first, the calls were tense, then awkward, then careful. That is the thing people rarely tell you about boundaries. They do not magically repair love. They simply stop the bleeding long enough to see whether love can still walk on its own. Cameron never called me directly again. Not once. Martha removed him from every financial communication channel connected to the Sutton family support structure. The SUV lease became their responsibility. Desert Crest Club downgraded their membership tier after missed discretionary support renewals. The travel card closed quietly. The luxury bridge transfers ended. And suddenly, without my money cushioning every landing, their life became much more ordinary. Funny how quickly business visibility starts looking like expensive insecurity when somebody else stops paying for it. But Lily kept visiting, every Sunday if she could. Sometimes we drove to get sandwiches. Sometimes we sat in the backyard while she talked about college applications, roommates, and how frightened she was to leave home while still loving people she felt angry with. One afternoon she asked me, "Grandpa, do you think Mom is a bad person?" I answered honestly, "No, I think your mother got too comfortable confusing support with love." Lily nodded slowly. Then she asked the harder question. "Can people come back from that?" I looked out at the Arizona sunset for a long moment before answering. "Yes, but only after they stop treating kindness like an automatic payment." That became the real lesson of everything for me. Not money, not revenge, dignity. Because there is a dangerous lie many older parents start believing after loss enters the house. We think love means enduring disrespect quietly, so nobody leaves us completely alone. It doesn't. Sometimes love requires the courage to say, "You may still be my child, but you may not use my loneliness against me." A few weeks later, Natalie came by the house alone. No Cameron, no excuses, no performance voice. She stood in the kitchen staring at the table for a long time before sitting down. "I hated that meeting," she admitted softly. "I know. I thought you were trying to destroy our life." I looked at her carefully. No, I was trying to stop disappearing inside it. That made her cry again. Real tears this time. Not polished, not strategic, just grief. She admitted something then that I think had been rotting inside her for years. "When Mom died, I started feeling like every visit to you came with sadness attached to it. And instead of facing that, I kept choosing easier things. Spa weekends, networking dinners, club events, image. Distance always feels easier at first. That is why people choose it so often. But eventually, distance sends the bill. Natalie apologized for the birthday, for the empty chairs, for telling people I wanted to be alone, for using words like boundaries and emotional peace when what she really meant was avoidance. I listened. Then I told her the truth. "I forgive you as my daughter, but financially things do not go backward." She nodded slowly, like part of her already knew. The luxury support remained frozen. The Sutton family support structure changed permanently. Anything connected to Lily's future would go directly to Lily. Education, books, housing help later if needed. Real support. Not lifestyle maintenance pretending to be family necessity. A month later, Martha helped me establish the Elaine Sutton Dignity Fund. Small at first, local, focused on elder financial boundaries, caregiving literacy, support, account education, and helping older adults understand the difference between generosity and emotional dependency. Elaine would have liked that, especially the educational part. I added one sentence from her old birthday card onto the opening page of the fund materials. "Never pay someone to disappear from you." Natalie read it during the launch dinner and cried quietly into her napkin. I did not comfort her immediately. Some lessons deserve enough silence to settle properly. Today, there are still difficult moments. Family stories do not end neatly. Cameron remains distant from me. Natalie is trying, but rebuilding trust moves slower than spending money ever did. Lily still carries too much emotional maturity for someone her age. And me? I still miss Elaine every single day. But now, when I sit at my kitchen table, I no longer confuse being needed with being loved. That may be the most expensive lesson of my entire life. Thank you for spending your time with me today, and for listening to a story that was painful to tell, but important to understand. Please tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and what time it is where you live right now. I truly enjoy seeing how far these stories travel. And if this story moved you even a little, please don't forget to subscribe to Final Act Revenge. Another story is waiting for you on your screen right now. YouTube believes you may enjoy it, and honestly, I think you might too.